Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, yesterday we made a mockery, I suppose, of the Nicola Sturgeon plan to erect statues of important women all around Scotland. And it's been claimed subsequently that perhaps the first statue erected should be that of JK Rowling. She is the doyenne of the real people, the people who live in the real world and who are not a part of that lefty liberal elite who seem to think that men can somehow become women. And you have to say that she is a remarkable woman. There are calls, not serious, of course, but there are calls to make her the First Minister. She is brave, she is intelligent, she is willing to stand up and to be counted, unlike so many of our politicians who like to hide when important questions need to be answered. They're quite incapable of doing so. One only has to look at the people who supported the hate crime bill. A lot of them now are trying to distance themselves from it. But she has stood up to be counted. She's faced off the hate crime bill. She's faced off against Humza Yousaf and challenged him. He has not responded to the challenge in any kind of brave way. He simply fired back insults toward her rather than answering her pertinent and genuine points. She's faced off against the police. She told them, "Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Arrest me if you think you can." The police demurred. They refused. They very bravely decided that her lawyers were better than theirs and decided that not arresting her would be a better use of their time. That's 2 for 2 for JK. On top of all this, of course, she's faced down the trans lobby, both in terms of generally and specifically. Now, in general, she's facing them down. She's saying it doesn't matter how demented you are or how genuinely desirable you want to be a woman. She understands that they are and genuinely do want to be women. She at no point has ever given any hate towards trans. What she said, though, is that biology is real and that if you're born male, no matter what your desire is, no matter how many pretty frocks you put on, no matter how much lippy you apply to your masculine face, you will forever doomed to be male. She says there is no going back. Sex, biological sex, is immutable. They don't like it. They castigate her. They threaten her. They humiliate her. And yet she fights on because she gives a voice to those who have no voice. Women who are put down, women who are scared, women who may be fearful for their positions or their jobs and who therefore cannot speak out, or women who feel threatened by men in these spaces, women on a field of sport who feel that if they spoke out they could lose their right of access to that sport. JK Rowling gives them a voice, and a loud voice, a powerful voice, a voice of a woman who will not be silenced. She works very closely with a lot of groups, that, particularly for Women Scotland and Women Won't Weesht. Well, JK Rowling has never had her weesht in her life. She's forthright, outspoken, and she means what she says. On a specific note, of course, she's also fighting the likes of the actors who appeared in her films. After all, without her, they would be nobodies, and the likes of Hermione and Harry and Ron would all have been played by other people, perhaps people who'd have been more appreciative of what she has done for them. But there they stand, moaning that this woman, how dare she stand up for the rights of other women? How dare she protect women from strange men who want to invade their spaces, take their opportunities, reap the rewards that rightfully should have gone to women, simply because they're not very good as men. You only have to look at the various sports people. Leah Thomas, for example, a 6'4" man who was really rubbish at swimming until he pretended to be a woman and won all the women's titles and broke all the women's records. People said it wasn't right, and it's correct. It's not right. Subsequently, and thankfully, someone like Riley Gaines stood up and said no, fought, refused to be silenced, went completely against the dogma that was prevalent in the sport, and has won. Leah Thomas had all his medals removed, had all his records expunged, and Riley Gaines and other swimmers have been given those positions retrospectively. Leah Thomas will not ever swim competitively again because he can't swim against men competitively. And that's how it should be. And it is the likes of JK standing up for women's rights that allowed this to happen. How many times are the authorities, the elite, those in power, going to oppose or impose their weird, wrong, socially destructive views on real people and expect us to take it? We must reject. We must fight. We must always say no. With the likes of JK Rowling standing there, leading the charge against this madness, we can have the orthodoxy returned. We can accept that men are men, that women are women, and that both are important, unique, and wonderful. For many women, they find men sometimes frightening. They've often been the victims of male aggression, and for them, they have domestic units where women can go and stay free, safe, and secure. JK Rowling says this, it's sad that it has to happen, but she said it's important that no men be allowed in there. And to have a man put on a skirt and enter some of these places can be destructive beyond measure to these women who've been victims of male aggression. Similarly, crisis units where women have been attacked sexually can go. Imagine sitting there trying to talk through the trauma with other women. Hard enough, but even harder when one of those women is a man, and possibly even the man who did it to you, who now identifies as a woman. And why are we putting very big, aggressive 6'4" men into women's prisons? Why are so many of these trans attacking children or women? 12 times the average rate trans are sexual predators. Not my figures, the government's figures. And it is all these things as an amalgam, as a total, which is why JK Rowling stands up against authority, against police, and against the trans lobby. If we need a statue, make a big one, make it 100 feet tall, put it in the centre of Edinburgh, facing the Parliament there, and make it the statue of JK Rowling, so that none may ever forget. Thank you for listening.